Then how can we now define destiny, one's destiny, in terms of predestination? Like, how can anybody put a definition to destiny?
I guess a predetermined set of outcomes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And earlier you mentioned cause and effect, like if cause and effect has anything to do with it. And I think it has everything to do with this concept of predestination. We can only imagine, for example, if we're at a pool table and you hit a ball, that it's going to move in a certain trajectory. And there's no other way we could imagine it, because the set of laws in nature force that to happen.
So, from what she's explaining, we can say that it's more of physical and, can we say, biological?
Yeah, it's more of our human efforts. It's more of our human attempts or actions. It's not the idea. I don't know if you're also referring to the idea that there's some sort of like deity somewhere who controls these things. Is that you're also referring to that idea?
No, not completely, because
Okay.
I think, like, more than anything, I do think it's more of a two-set kind of problem. I think human action has a very, very big role in things rolling out the way they do. But I also think that at the same time, all the events previously still kind of inform us of the choices we're going to make. So we cannot completely rule out the fact that maybe our actions were also affected by a history that may even be unknown to us.
Okay, with this, let me ask Felipe, from all this description of predestination, can we say that if somebody can change their destiny by their course of action, was that destiny that was changed actually a destiny?
Yeah, I think that's what we were getting at, which is like destiny isn't really a thing, because it's what you do that defines you. So let's say, you were born in an environment that's, adverse to what you want to do. If you break out of that, someone could say it was your destiny, but also it's not like it was certain in any way, right? Like a lot of people that have had the same dream could not have accomplished that, even though that was also their presupposed destiny, right? So I don't think we can say that destiny is a thing. I think that, like Sophie was saying, it's a mixture of, your own actions, but also everything that came before you, because if we're not born in a vacuum that we can choose to do whatever we want. And it's kind of, like where you grow up, with who you grow up, where you're educated or anything.
It's a matter of nurture controversy.
Yeah, I guess it's more like it does depend on what you want to do, but also outside of that, there's a lot more that constricts you, And so the matter is of breaking out of whatever is constricting you. That can't be predestined, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I think I have a look. Yeah, so in addition to what he said, I like to see destiny from, the etymology of the word destiny, destination, like your end point, kind of like where you'd finally get to. And that could be different points in your life, and that could also be like at the end of your life, whichever way. So I like to see that idea in two ways, right? How people see it generally. People like to say, we actually have a predestined destination. And people like me like to think that we have a destination that actually fostered by what I do and randomness of life.
Yeah.
Right. So I like to see destiny in two ways. The way I don't agree with the way people see it, but people see it that way, that there is a predestined destiny. And then I also like to see from my own way, which is that our destiny eventually becomes like it's a product of what we've done and how random life chooses to, engage with us.
Okay. Taking it from how you disagree with other people way of thinking about the destiny, knowing that in some cultures, let me say in Miami, I don't know how they perceive it, but referring to Amaka, who is from Nigeria, some Nigerians, we believe that everybody have their destiny. Somebody, you may even see a child growing up and they will say that this child is destined to be rich. I don't know. So, and somebody you may also see that in terms of marriage, they will say, oh, their family lineage that they normally don't last in marriage. So now I want to ask this question. Do you think that the concept, Amaka, the concept of this predestination can make somebody remain in an unpleasant or unfavorable relationship, thinking that it is meant to be?
You can go first.
I think that that is definitely the case, and I think that we've seen that with a lot of people. A lot of people here in America are definitely influenced by their own beliefs, a lot of religious beliefs that I know they believe in predestiny, and sometimes that may lead you to not even pursue a life that you want. And that's the biggest problem, I think, with the concept of destiny and predetermination, that you kind of settle for a status quo instead of maybe looking for something better because you think that the current circumstance is what was meant to be.
Yeah. So I agree with what you said. To also add to it, like people need to open their minds to the role that our what's it called, our genetic and biological makeup also play in this whole conversation around destiny. So like you mentioned, family history, you mentioned, I mean, I mean, I don't know neuroscience very well, but I know that some kinds of behaviors are kind of like, what's it called, fostered genetically, right? And I also believe that people also become their own person as a result of the random assortments of genes at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So if you put all these things together, you find that in as much as to a large extent, history, by history I mean genetic history, even normal social history, could affect like people's present today, and to a very large extent, if they don't keep their minds open and understand that these things actually, how do I put it, if they don't keep their minds open that they could be largely affected by these kinds of worldviews.
Or I have to make myself who I want to be.
Exactly, or I have to make myself who I want to be. They might be entrapped. Like, I mean, I've seen cases because I'm Igbo. So, and we have this worldview, this predestination, this destiny worldview, where people kind of like shrink themselves so much because they've been told, oh, this is what it was like, our family history, this is what our family history is, and then they just think like, oh, we cannot make it out of this place, it's just going to be this way. And then you also see in the midst of this kind of people who are really pertinent, people who are really hard-headed, that open their minds to understanding that there's a lot that could come out of life. So irrespective of family history, irrespective of the worldviews that people hold, they are able to a large extent, determine their own outcome.
Yeah. Okay, Maka, let me move to Felipe. Felipe, although you said you did not, that you have stayed here for 10 years, but I would like to know, in terms of this relationship marriage, because in the Christian point of view, marriage is normally till death do us part, right?
Yeah.
And many people may be in this marriage with the concept that it is this my husband or this my wife is who God has destined me to marry. And even if it's going astray, they remain there. Are there situations like this in Brazil, even from your mom telling stories?
I mean, yeah, I know that at least here, as far as I know, like divorce is pretty common. So at least it seems like there isn't like a very strong belief of that here. But in Brazil, I mean, I'm not so knowledgeable about if people, have that sort of tie to, something greater that stops them from leaving bad situations. I guess that's an interesting question. I don't really know.
Okay.
Like how
It's
it is over there.
that you can go back.
Yeah.
Do you have something to say about that?
Yes, I mean, I can say that, I mean, my family actually did come from Cuba, but like many people in Miami. And my grandmother and my grandfather grew up in Cuba their whole lives. And I know for a fact that my grandmother stayed until my grandfather died. They stayed married, even though my uncle and aunt and mother would have preferred that they divorced at some point, maybe once they were already adults and everything, because I know that their relationship was not great. I don't know the full extent of it, but I know that it was a very rocky relationship. So I at least know that amongst an older generation, for sure, that was the case. Like people thought they had to stay married with that commitment, especially if they already had kids. A lot of people keep that as a reason to stay married as well.
All right.